All right, I'm going to call council to order. Today is June 16th, 2021, and I'm going to be calling the meeting to order at 4:32 p.m. And before we get started today, I would just like to acknowledge that I'm calling in from the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, which includes the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. This location is colonially known as Burnaby Mountain. This is the location, pardon me, where we would be doing our work in person, if not for COVID-19. And in that way, recognizing that most of us are calling in from home or otherwise, and are likely calling in from different lands. And so it's critical that if we all don't already know the nations by whose lands we are currently occupying, that, we take time as settlers to recognize whose lands we are occupying, and recognizing that the power that we have as student society leaders, whether we be elected, whether we be staff, or whether we be students in general, that we have a great deal of power in standing in solidarity with Indigenous communities. So at this time, we'll begin our meeting as usual with our roll call of attendance. And I will call on each counselor by position. And when I call on you, please be ready to unmute so we can go through the roll call of attendance as fast as we can. Share your first and last name, your pronouns, and any access needs that you might have. And also, please identify if you are attending as an alternate. That would be fantastic too, if that is applicable to you. So we'll begin with our student union representatives, and archaeology is first on the list. Archaeology has informed me that they are sending in their regrets, and I'll be moving to add those to the agenda later. Arts, performance, and cinema studies present? Okay, Bachelor of Environment.
Hi, my name is Evan McPhee, and my pronouns are he, him, and my internet's a bit spotty, so I may be cutting on a bit. Yeah.
Behavioral neuroscience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Arthi Srinivasan, pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs have been met.
Thank you. Biology. I believe biology has sent their regrets. BPK.
Hi everyone, my name is Kashish Mehta. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I will be keeping my camera off, and I might drop out of the call a few times because I'm having trouble with my laptop, sorry.
No worries at all. Thank you. Business? Chemistry?
Hi, my name is Wen. Pronouns are she or hers, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. Cognitive science? Cognitive science, are you present? Okay. Communications?
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashran. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs have been met.
Thanks, Ashran. Computing science?
Hi, my name is Ryan. My pronouns are he, him, his. All my access needs are met.
Criminology?
Hi, Charlotte Taylor Bear, she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Dance? Data science?
Hi, my name is Warren. My pronouns are he, him. My access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. Earth science? Economics?
Hi, my name is Sandra. My pronouns are she, her, and all my access needs are met.
Education?
Hi, my name is Jia Choi. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and my internet connection is a bit unstable at the moment.
Thank you. Engineering science? English? Is English present? Oh, pardon me, there's regrets here. English just sent their regrets. Environmental resource? Environmental science?
Hi, my name is Chloe. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Film studies, believe they have sent their regrets. French,
Hi, my name's Kylie, pronouns she, her, hers, and all of my accessibility needs have been met.
thanks, Kylie. Also, I'm not sure why your name isn't on the agenda, but for the record, let it be reflected that you are the counselor for French. Thank you. We also, gender, sexuality, and women's studies.
Hey everyone, my name is Devin Butterworth, she, her, hers pronouns, and my access needs are met.
Thank you. Geography. Geography, are you present? Gerontology. Global Asia Studies. Health Science.
Hi everyone.
Ooh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
I'm from the Global Asia UASSU, and I'm Eunice. The pronoun is she, her, her, and my accessibility is met.
Thank you very much. Josel, you can go ahead now.
Sorry for cutting you off. Hi everyone, my name is Giselle. My pronouns are she, her. My accessibility needs are met, but I will be leaving early today at 6, which is on the agenda.
Thank you. History. Is history present? Humanities. Indigenous studies.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Henriquez, pronouns she, her, hers, and all my accessibility needs are met. Thank you.
Interactive arts and technology.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Felix, pronouns he, him, and they, them, and all my accessibility needs have been met. Thank you.
International studies.
Hi everyone, my name is Gianna Short. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'll just need to keep my camera off today. Thanks.
Labor studies.
Hello, my name is Justin Chad. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my accessibility needs are met.
Thank you. Linguistics. Mathematics. Megatronics.
My name is Riley McWilliams. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my accessibility needs are met.
MBB. Music. Operations research.
Hi, my name is Ash, he, him, his, and all my accessibility needs have been met. I might drop out once in a while. My internet's pretty bad.
No worries. Philosophy.
Hi, my name is Tony Yu, he, him, his, all my access needs are met.
Physics.
Hi, my name is Graham Rich, pronouns he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Political science.
Hi everyone, my name is Helen. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Psych.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany Liu. My pronouns are she, them, and I may need to turn off my webcam if my laptop overheats. Thank you.
No worries. Science Undergrad Society.
Hello everyone, my name is Zaid Lari. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my accessibility needs are met.
Arts and Social Sciences. Sassy, you present? Sociology and Anthropology.
Hi, my name is Kayla, pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Thanks, Kayla. Hey, we can go back.
Sorry, I am here. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I was looking at the minutes I'm doing today and I totally got overwhelmed with them. And I forgot to say I'm here.
Sure. Would you like to do name, pronouns, access needs?
Yes, yeah. My pronouns are she, her. My name is Akam. And I think I'm okay for access needs. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, sociology, anthropology, software systems. Okay, statistics.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Chung. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met, but I do have to leave at 8:30 sharp today. Thank you.
Student Athlete Advisory Committee.
Hi, I'm Paul. My pronouns are he, him, and all my accessibility needs are met, except my internet is also pretty dodgy today.
Sustainable Community Development. Sustainable Energy Engineering Student Society. Sustainable Energy Engineering, are you present? Okay. Theater Student Union.
Hi, my name is Samantha Walters, pronouns she and they, and my accessibility needs are met.
Visual Arts. World Lit.
Hi, my name is Zara, pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move into constituency group representatives now, and we'll begin with Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance. Marie, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just a heads up, Muhammad is here. He just said in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Marie. Is DNA present here today? Okay. First Nation Student Association.
Hi, my name is Kiana. My pronouns are she and her, and all my accessibility needs are met. However, my computer is a little bit funky today.
No worries. Yeah, and I just, for the record, just let it be reflected that Kiana is now the FNSA counselor rather than Lauren. So we'll make sure that is fixed for next time. Thank you. International Student Advocates.
Hello, my name is Fiza Parsian. Pronouns are she, her, hers. All my access needs are met, but I will be leaving by 5:30 due to a class, but my alternate Kirtana is here.
Fantastic. Kirtana, are you here right now? If you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Gabe, and thank you, Fiza. Hey guys, I'm here. My name is Kirtana. My pronouns are she, her, hers. All of my access needs have been met, although I've been having a weird day with my mental health, so my camera might be off. Thanks.
Thanks, Kirtana. Out on campus. Soka.
Hi, everyone. I'm Linda. My access needs are met, and my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you. Women's Center.
Hi, I'm Nisha. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Awesome. We'll move into the executive committee now. And we'll begin with the president, myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabe Leosis. My pronouns are he, him, his. And for access needs, I have two. One, the sun is coming through my window, as you can see, quite bright. So it kind of might be in my eyes and it's a bit hard to see my computer screen. And second, I do have a bit of a headache. So if at any point I need to ask someone to repeat something, I apologize. It just might take me a little longer than usual to process stuff. We'll move on to VP Internal and Organizational Development.
Hi, everyone. My name is Corbett. Pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Our VP Finance and Services is still on a leave of absence. Nextly is our VP University and Academic Affairs.
Hey everyone, my name is Serena. My pronouns are she, they, and for my access needs, my internet is a bit bad, but if I drop out, I'll be right back.
Cool. VP External.
Hi, is everyone able to hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, Dominic Sistigo, Matthew, my pronouns are he, him, his. My accessibility needs, right now, I'm sharing a room with my brother and my mom, so we're all in the same room, and I'm feeling a little bit overstimulated and a little bit low energy today, so I think I might keep my camera off, besides the presentation that we'll do later.
Thank you, Matt. VP Equity.
Hey everyone, my name's Marie. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My access needs are met. However, I also do have a headache, but I'm hydrating and hopefully I'll be better later. Thanks.
Thanks, Marie. VP Events.
Hello everyone, my name is Jess. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. We'll move on to society staff now, beginning with our operations organizer.
Hi everyone, my name is Aisha. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and my access needs are met.
Thanks, Aisha. Board organizer.
Hi everyone, this is Ella. My pronouns are she and her, and my access needs are met.
Thanks, Ella. Administrative assistant.
Hi, my name's Christina. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. Do we have any other society staff with us on the line today? No. Okay, cool. In terms of council alternates, is there an alternate here for biology? For English?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Victoria, pronouns she, her, and my access needs are met.
Thank you. Film Student Union? Okay, and health science is here right now, and Kirtana already introduced herself. So we are good on the roll call of attendance, unless there are any counselors who rolled in late who didn't have an opportunity to share their name, pronouns, access needs.
Hi, sorry, I came a few minutes late. My name's Sarah Racidine. I'm from the Engineering Student Society. Pronouns are she, her, and my access needs are met.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else? Okay, cool. Well, then in that case, that concludes our roll call of attendance. And we'll move into section number 4 of the agenda, which is consent agenda. So be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. This does not require a mover or a seconder, but at this time, I'll ask if there are any objections to any of the motions contained under the consent agenda. We have the adoption of the agenda, matters arising from the minutes from council and 2 committees, and ratification from regrets from a few councilors. Corbett, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to object for amending the agenda. I'd like to pull that out.
Okay, thanks, Corbett. So we will object to the adoption of the agenda and move that to the regular portion of the agenda. We'll consider that directly after this. Zaid?
Yeah, I'd like to pull out 4.1.5, ratification of regrets.
Okay, was there any, there's 3 separate regrets under 4.1.5. Did you want to pull them all out?
I wanted to amend it to include regrets.
Oh, okay. In that case, when we move to the adoption of the agenda, we can just add another motion for more regrets. So we don't need to necessarily pull those ones out at this time, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Cool. So that's all right with you? We'll keep that in there then? Okay, cool. So in that case, the only thing we're pulling out is the adoption of the agenda. Is there anything else that folks would like to object to at this time? Okay, seeing none, the consent agenda is carried as amended. And we will vote on the adoption of the agenda. So be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there a mover for the motion?
Marie.
Marie moves. Is there a seconder?
Science.
Science seconds. Zaid seconds. Fantastic. All right. At this time, I'll ask if there are any questions, comments, or amendments to be made as it pertains to the agenda. Zaid, please.
I would like to move to amend the agenda to include a section titled "Be it resolved to," or no, ratification of regrets, under which there'll be the clause "Be it resolved to ratify regrets from Alan Saunderson," reason being co-op conflict.
Okay. I'll also add to that, since we're doing regrets. Damon from Archaeology submitted their regrets for a academic conflict, a midterm. And Shashank also submitted their regrets for a unexpected family circumstance. So we'll include those 3 regrets, which will come immediately after this motion, the adoption of the agenda, and before a report from committees. Corbett, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to add a notice of motion for a policy change to be discussed and voted on at a future meeting. And I'll post the motion in the chat.
Thank you, Corbett. So we'll add a notice of motion. This will come after 30-minute Q&A and before announcements. And what is the, do we just title that non-executive counselor work reports, Corbett?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. So we have on the floor a batch of amendments that are being made. Who is moving these amendments?
Zaid.
Zaid moves. Is there a seconder?
Kashish can second.
Kashish can second. Thank you. Any discussion or comments on the amendments? Okay, seeing none, we'll put that to a vote. And Corbett has put his notice of motion in the chat, just so everyone can see that. We'll put the amendment to a vote. All those in favor of the motion seeking unanimous consent. And if you would like to vote against or abstain, please use the Zoom raise hand feature and I'll call on you and ask how you're casting your vote. But seeing none, that motion is carried, that amendment is carried unanimously. And we'll move back to the main motion, which at this time now reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. Any last questions or comment on the agenda? All right, so we'll put the main motion to a vote. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent. Okay, seeing no objections, that motion is carried unanimously. And now we'll move into the ratification of regrets. So there are 3 regrets encompassed in this motion. Be it resolved to ratify regrets from Damon for an academic conflict, from Shashank for a personal family, a unexpected family circumstance, that's the phrase, and Alan for a co-op meeting conflict. Is there a mover for the motion?
Sandra moves.
Sandra moves. Is there a seconder?
Arthi seconds.
Arthi seconds. Thank you. Any discussion on the regrets from these 3 counselors? Okay, we'll put the question to a vote. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent. Okay, that motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. And now we'll move into section number 5 of our agenda today, which is report from committees. And the one item under this section is report from the executive committee. This was submitted by myself, but all 6 of the execs present today will be doing a short recap of what they've been working on over the last 2 weeks. And thank you for sharing, whoever, Jess, thank you for sharing the screen. And remember execs. Okay, I'm going to be a bit more generous today. I'm going to give all of us 4 minutes. Okay, 4 minutes. I'll be timing and I will cut you off at 4 minutes. And I'll try my hardest to keep it to 4 minutes too. I'll be talking quite fast. I'll be holding myself to the same standard as every other exec here. Okay, cool. Jess, may you please go to my slide? Okay, cool. So ready, set, go. In terms of meetings, I attended the first and third meeting of the Free Palestine Working Group, and I want to give a huge shout out to Zaid for coordinating this working group so far. I also attended the first meeting of the Uyghur Solidarity Working Group, and I want to give a shout out to Helen, who was appointed chair of that working group by the working group, and I was happy to be at that first meeting. All of the executive committee met with Ramana Khan Hamani, who's the vice provost, Students and International, as well as Aaron Biddlecombe and some other folks from Student Services to talk about some concerns that we have with the fall return to campus and just general introductions to make that connection. Myself, Zaid, and Marie also had a conversation with Hillel SFU regarding how to keep students safe during this time. And, you know, we focused on areas we knew we agreed on, such as keeping Jewish students safe, making sure that is always paramount. And this discussion was really productive and conversational, and I was really appreciative to have that time and space to have that conversation. That statement, that discussion was really productive, and we talked about, you know, how council is created, well, at this point has created a statement. It has gone out, and the working group will continue to work on an issues policy. In this policy, the working group will ensure that it's being drafted in a way that ensures Jewish folk and Palestinians on campus are safe. We were definitely aligned on the fact that we need to center the safety of Jewish students, as well as that we are always standing in solidarity with the Palestinian people. There were some concerns raised in the meeting that there was a belief and imagery that treated Hillel and Jewish students as monolithic, or that they were somehow apologetic for the actions of the state of Israel. And we agreed that that view was harmful. We recognized and expressed that, you know, people have co-opted the BDS movement, and that we don't condone any form of anti-Semitism, and that this is reflected in the statement that went out and will be reflected in the issues policy and anything else the SFSS does related to this. Some concerns were brought forward about BDS, specifically around, you know, its limitations, what is its scope, and what criteria we are using. These are all topics that we express that the working group will continue to discuss. And of course, there is still a standing invitation for Hillel to participate in those discussions. And above all, SFSS is here to listen, which we made very, very clear. And, you know, I was happy to have that space to identify areas we could work on together to ensure student safety is paramount. I also had the pleasure of both Matt and I, VP External, and I had a meeting with Terry Beach, MP for Burnaby North Seymour, brought forward some questions we had around student relief funding for the fall, as well as commitments to reconciliation from the federal government. This morning, I had an opportunity to attend a town hall with staff and students for the Surrey director search, and was able to ask some questions of the candidates. In terms of committees, the executive committee has had a couple of meetings so far. The HR and Personnel Subcommittee, which I am a chair of, it's a subcommittee of the exec. We met for the first time and approved a number of job descriptions for some new staff positions we are looking to create, such as accessibility coordinator, building coordinator, and administrative coordinator. I also continue to chair the sub-opening working group, which is working really, really hard on a plan to open the Student Union building for the fall, for September. And there are multiple subgroups of this working group, so I lead two of those, one of which is operations and staff, and the other is COVID-19 safety plans. I am also a member of the Policy Research and Community Affairs Coordinator Hiring Committee. We have had 3 meetings so far, interviews so far, and have 3 more to go. And lastly, with the 10 seconds that I have left, I was able to attend a meeting with other student society presidents within BC and 2 deputy provincial health officers to bring forward concerns we had around accommodations and why there isn't a lot of conversation around hybrid forms of education for September. And so I kind of went 20 seconds over. I apologize. I did not live up to the standard I set for everyone, but we will move on now to VP Internal.
Hi, everyone. So this period of time, this last 2 weeks, for me has been quite heavily on the HR side of things, as Gabe talked about in good detail about different hiring committees and job descriptions that have been worked on. So I was also heavily involved with working on the building coordinator job descriptions, approving the accessibility and administrative coordinators job description as well, so that things start going to hiring committees, as well as, excuse me, also meeting with the executive committee. Outside of that, I also attended this the student services meet and greet with us. But I also, outside of that, I talked with our senior accountant, or a senior accountant, around SFSS bursary tax requirements. They are going to be helping us fairly cheaply or pro bono to help us get our bursary system set up. We also had multiple meetings around dev session facilitators and schedules, so that we'll be able to release that for at least for the summer, I think, pretty soon, so everyone knows what's coming up. I had multiple meetings and interviews with for the policy research and community affairs coordinator, hiring the search rather, as well as being part of some of the sub-opening working groups and subgroups. For projects I've been working on quite a bit, it would be, I developed and ran the How to Counsel Dev session last week. I've been working with staff around feedback survey, developing a feedback survey around orientation, and ultimately we'll have some as well for dev sessions going forward. Also, I've been working a lot on the committee and at large selection process. We kind of had we started it, but then we've had to restart it, and we'll actually talk a little about that, I think, later today in the meeting, about another push for advertising. And just a lot of little odds and ends from the council side, welcoming new counselors, making sure different forms were sent out, making sure things were registered, that the board has been registered, and all that other kind of work. Sorry, council's been registered as board of directors. So yeah, that's kind of been my 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Corbett.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Serena. Please go ahead. It's your now turn.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Hey everyone, my last couple of weeks have been just trying to get the committees up and running. Accessibility committee met for the first time this week. And we basically just did a presentation on what the accessibility committee worked on last year, what we still have to work on, and maybe what our future initiatives could look like. We still have to make an annual plan, so we'll probably do that at our next meeting. UAA is set for a meeting on next Friday, I believe. And then there's also a committee, the steering committee for community engagement on personal safety, which I sit on along with Gabe and Marie. We received an email that it's going to be delayed till September, so we wrote a response to that and hopefully are awaiting an update, hopefully a change in that. Working groups, the Access for All working group has drafted both of its letters. We met yesterday to finalize those. Protesting Columbia working group, I have sent out a when to meet, but it seems like there's not a lot of times that work for folks, so I think I might send out another one. Appointed a second AVP UAA at the last executive committee meeting. I've been in discussions with Marie and SFU 350 about their climate emergency declaration open letter, how we can push for that for SFU and how we can support that letter and their campaign. We're trying to restart the menstrual products project, which is bringing free menstrual products in all accessible washrooms for all people who menstruate. So we're working on getting that started and looking into funding and what that could look like in the future. Of course, working on return to campus, meeting with the Center for Accessible Learning, Health and Counseling, the SFU Faculty Association. Got an email today about the Student Support Working Group, so hopefully the SFSS can have some representation on the reopening working groups. OER asked or open educational resources for context, like free textbooks and that kind of thing. Went to the first working group meeting for that and worked on an issues policy as well. tried to gain some more knowledge about contract worker justice campaign. I'm trying to wrap it up. And also, we've been in a lot of meetings about the Sustainability Office's climate resilience plan, and a lot of the issues that we see with that plan and trying to improve it with student consultation. And that's basically the last 2 weeks for me. Of course, if you want to reach me, you can do so through email, Facebook, or Discord. Thank you.
And with 19 seconds to spare, Matt, you can go ahead now.
Perfect, thank you. So pretty much I just kind of broke it down into like key meetings that I've had in the last 2 weeks. So I've had another meeting with the Alma Mater Society at like UBC, just meeting with their, basically my position at UBC, like within their student society. And then like Gabe said, we had a meeting like with Terry Beach over the weekend on like a Saturday afternoon, which is like whatever, but he was like pretty chill. We brought up some of our concerns with, you know, student affordability and also like reconciliation efforts and responding to, you know, stances such as like pipeline reconciliation, things that have been happening that have been impacting Indigenous community members. Also extended that invitation to hopefully he could prioritize coming to the External and Community Affairs Committee, as well as hopefully in the future a council meeting. I did meet with Metro Vancouver Alliance, which I thought I will have more information on in the next couple weeks, but also met with the SFPERG Board of Directors, their new incoming board. There was an Aboriginal Reconciliation Committee meeting the Friday that the news came out about the Kamloops Indian Residential School. I've also have ongoing meetings with Migrant Students United in terms to the International Student Advocacy Office. Internal aspects, I'm still scheduling upcoming meetings with Katrina Chen and Kane, and then I'm also meeting with Joy Johnson, I believe, next week. Been trying to plan for the External and Community Affairs Committee, and I'll be working with Ella, our board organizer, to get some resources and also like training for the ECAC committee, because I think it's really important that, you know, they have proper support when we're talking like with politicians and things like that. And then, sorry, 2 seconds. Sorry, my brother's he's watching YouTube. So I've also been on the hiring committee for the campaigns and mobilization coordinator hiring committee. So we have to schedule some interviews and finalize some questions, but hopefully that should be done in the next few weeks. I'm also on the search committee for the Vice Provost Indigenous Affairs Listening and Learning Committee, which has been ongoing, and that'll be ongoing for the next like 4 to 5 months. So we also at our last exec meeting, we've been able to appoint Nim Basha as my like associate vice president external and community affairs, and I thought that was really nice because Nim does amazing work. In terms of advocacy, the response to the Kamloops Indian Residential School findings has been very it's been a long couple weeks, and there's been more stuff that's been happening like within our communities that is like ongoing, and then also working with our Indigenous community members to find proper supports, and as well as ensuring that I guess just to say for like the record, the meeting with Joy Johnson is actually to kind of hold accountability to the university that they should have been able to respond to this a little bit better. And I say that unapologetically because I feel like the way the university handled this whole situation is very concerning. And so hopefully working towards having that conversation to make sure that if in the future there's situations that come up like this, that they do their due diligence, as well as, you know, I feel very strong. I feel, I guess, supported in the way that which our executive committee was able to respond on the day of. And there's a lot of things that should have happened from also like the Aboriginal Reconciliation Council, and then also from the university on that. And since I have 15 seconds left, I was able to apply to sit on the UPass Advisory Council to represent the SFSS. So hopefully that if I do make it on as a rep, then hopefully that'll be in the next coming weeks. I can update you then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt, for your update. Marie, you have the floor now for 4 whole minutes.
Glorious. Okay, cool. So yeah, some key items and meetings that I was a part of. The first one was the conversation with Hella regarding student safety on campus and online. But we had a really fruitful conversation with Hillel regarding Jewish safety on campus and their recommendations for the issues policy. So we also kind of explained our position and clarified any misunderstandings that were arising. And we are also waiting to hear about more recommendations that they have, but we all really just like left feeling good, and I'll put our discussion points in the chat actually. So those were all the things that we did discuss. Furthermore, I did have a conversation with the Independent Jewish Voices, which are solid folks, folks who have previously been involved in Palestinian issues, policies, and kind of stances in universities. So had a great conversation with them, and they introduced themselves to the Palestinian Working Group as well. I've been part of 3 hiring committees: the Campaign and Mobilization Coordinator, Women's Center Assistant Hiring, and Out on Campus Assistant Hiring as well. Most of them are close to being closed and finalized, so I'm excited for that part and initiating the interviews. And yeah, I've been working on getting more workshop opportunities for developmental sessions and workshops, and I've been reaching out to some folks, and we have 3 more scheduled in, which I'm really excited for, again, surrounding around anti-oppression and organizing at SFU. I had a conversation with Serena and SFU 350 regarding the Climate Justice Declaration letter and further actions that SFU needs to take in terms of their sustainability plan and how it's lacking in terms of TMX stances or Indigenous sovereignty and governance, which is unfortunately not really taken up. And when we did mention it previously in meetings, they were kind of pushed to the side, which is really unfortunate, and we're pushing on that. Furthermore, I had conversations with TSSU regarding their research assistant bargaining and contract worker justice, and I'm trying to see how we can support in the best way that we can. Yeah, and then we further had conversations with student services regarding the upcoming university opening, student safety on campus, and further inclusion. And I'm really excited to actually have a second conversation. I feel like we left wanting to say more, so that's solid. And then we also had a conversation with Cal and the fall 2021 plan, really just like any accommodations and adjustments that are going to be put in place for marginalized students and disabled folks, or folks who do not identify as disabled. So we're going to see what we can go about in this, and we have some recommendations for their website, which they were happy to take in as well. In terms of committee, working group, etc., the Free Palestine Working Group is doing really well. They did release a statement, of course, to send a recommendation to council. I put it in the chat as well. And we are just drafting up our issues policies as well. I was very happy to join in the OIHOD working group for the first session, and we are also working on a statement. I'm also part of the steering committee meeting on campus safety. It's been really tough, actually. We've been trying to amplify like the student purpose about wanting to be in a group surrounded around protecting Black and Brown folks on campus and really addressing the policies at hand. Ooh, okay. But they actually stopped the meeting, and we're encouraging them to restart it. Also part of the Circular Economy Working Group and Climate Resilience Plan over there, also addressing TMX and Indigenous sovereignty and trying to increase student representation as well. And I've also been working on starting up the BIPOC and Equity and Sustainability Committee, and also working on the sub-opening working group about the advocacy piece and consultation pieces as well regarding the sub-opening working group. But that was a lot. If you want to ask any questions about any of that stuff, please feel free to message me.
Thank you, Marie. Done like a champ. And lastly, we have VP Events and Student Affairs. Jess, you have the floor for 4 minutes.
Hi, everyone. I did my first event with SFU Recreation, which was an IG Live. We did Quick Bites, which was a transition over again from Jennifer Chu's time. I'm currently planning an event with SFU We Were Here, We Were Queer. It's a poetry night, but it's also an open mic night, so if anyone wants to present their poetry or any mediums of art, or even song, that is happening on the 25th of June. So please feel free to come. We would love to hear your poetry. I'm working on another event as well. I'm in contact with Indigenous Student Center for an understanding land acknowledgements event, so we can learn the history of whose lands we are settling on, learn how to pronounce the place names correctly, and how to be better allies with Indigenous communities as well. I'm still waiting to hear back from them if this can happen. I have been in meetings with various stakeholders, with SFU staff, faculty, and departments regarding return to on-campus events and programming for students. This is always in the works. There's a lot up in the air, especially with what type of events we're going to have, how we're going to do that, following PHO guidelines. I'm looking towards SFU for support as well. I'm on 2 hiring committees. We are in the final stages of hiring for a new communications coordinator. Currently, I'm browsing for applicants for the Women's Center Assistant. And then today and the next few days, some executives and I are also sitting on the final stages of the Surrey Director Town Hall staff and students, where we do ask questions of the new Surrey Director, and just like getting to know them, and then they will finalize who it will be within the next few weeks. As for the sub-opening working group, I lead the events subgroup and room bookings subgroup. Those are 2 separate ones. It's what type of events are we going to have? Will they be indoor? Will they be outdoor? How will we do room bookings? What staff, what students, what constituency groups can come on what day, on what time. So there's a lot to do for this, but it's really exciting. Again, following PHO, following what SFU is doing, but also trying to make our own policies as well, and ensuring that our staff and our students are safe at all times. The next thing, we appointed, congratulations to the Society of Arts and Social Sciences Councillor Akam Sidhu for being appointed as Associate Vice President of Events and Student Affairs. This is a voluntary position. Claps in the chat for Akam, hearts, or anything like that. She will be helping me throughout the year with any meetings, projects, events, community engagement, all of that. And it's been so helpful already. She's doing an incredible job. She's helping me taking meeting minutes today. External events that I've been a part of, I'm attending here and there whenever I can fit it within the next few days, the sexual violence external events, which has been really helpful because I am in the process of doing an issues policies for this within the next few months as well. As for committees, I have striked the Events and Student Affairs Committee meetings, and as well as the Member Services Advisory Committee meetings. So we are meeting within the next 2 weeks. I'm excited to meet everyone. We are also accepting and reviewing the at-large applications for both committees. As a reminder for everyone right now, before I forget, please share on your social media, your networks, within your friends as well, to encourage your friends to apply for these committees as voluntary positions, but also it's really good advocacy work and good involvement within SFSS and SFU. Current projects that I'm working on is eventual products project that Serena has mentioned earlier, and the feedback survey from staff of how staff has been doing during the pandemic, their relationships with students in terms of what students have been needing during the pandemic. And I'm done. Thank you. That is it for the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Jess, and thank you, everyone. You know, we're doing good for the agenda today, so we actually have time for questions if non-executive counselors do have any questions regarding the contents of our reports today. We have time for a couple of questions. So if there are any, please feel free to list yourself in the chat. And if there aren't any, that's fine too. I'll give it a couple of minutes if folks want to think, or a couple of seconds if folks need a second to think. Kirtana, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a comment. I wanted to say thank you to all of the executive board for all of your hard work. Every time you guys give us like a progress report, it's amazing to see how much you guys have done in 2 weeks. So thank you, and keep the good work up. And you guys are all very, very appreciated. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you so much, Kirtana. That really means a lot. Fiza?
Hello, so like Kirtana, I want to thank you all for the work. And my question is specifically towards Matthew. I do understand that you are part of the UPass Advisory Committee, and I wanted to ask if there is a way, if I could understand if UPass is trying to be leaning towards for FIC students, Fraser International College, and if there are any works in that end, as that is something I'm personally from ISA working on.
Hi, yes, if I understand like your question, I think there has been like ongoing, especially with terms of like, you know, international students and like UPass and whatnot, like there will be, in terms of like exemptions or like any work moving forward, like if you want to email me, or like even we can have that discussion like a little bit further, then I can hopefully get you like some information of like what happened last year and things that I've noticed internally, because being student services, I noticed like a lot of international students and whatnot were having issues like with the UPass, and then also there was like a lot of advocacy that did go into exemptions. So this year being on, I guess more so like the lobbying side and being more involved, like if there's anything that I can bring, I think that's why I am applying to sit on that representative seat for UPass, that represents like all student unions and whatnot. So anything or concerns or any ideas that you have, like please forward them to me, and that's the place where I can bring them as well. And I'm always open to writing reports and also bringing that back to council, or if there's any other student groups that need relevant information. So hopefully that answered your question. If not, just feel free to email me or we can discuss this further. I'm always open to that.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you so much, Fiza, for the question. One or two more questions or comments if there are any. We have room for them. Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate the comments and questions. We'll bring the reports from committees to a close, and we'll move to new business, which is section 6 of our agenda. And the first motion is 6.1. And this motion is titled Finance Policy, Financial Policy 12.1, Space Expansion Fund Correction. This was submitted by our VP Internal and Organizational Development, Corbett Gildersleeve, and there is an attachment to go along with this motion. And I'll read the question now. Whereas the 2020 referendum history report shows a different wording for the Space Expansion Fund compared to what is listed in our finance policies number 12. Whereas there were changes to the Space Expansion Fund's purpose in 2001 and 2010, whereas we have sought legal advice on the wording of the referendums to develop updated policy, be it resolved that Council amend Finance Policy 12, Space Expansion Fund, as presented in the attachment. Is there a mover for the motion?
Corbett moves.
Corbett moves the motion. Is there a seconder?
That's Jeremy seconds.
Jeremy seconds. Thank you. And just to note, as this is a policy change, this was given 2 weeks notice of motion. When we move to a vote on this, because it is a policy amendment, it requires a 2/3 majority vote of council to pass. But Corbett, you have the floor to explain the purpose of the motion.
Yeah, it's kind of as laid out in the whereas clauses. When we were looking at last term, we were looking at some funding needs as part of the budget development process, and we were looking back at our history on various referendum questions for various special dedicated funds like Space Expansion Fund, Build Stuffy Fund, and such. We found that the way our policies and the way our understanding of some of dose funds and the restrictions on those funds didn't necessarily match what was actually passed in the wording of these various referendum questions. And one prime example was the Space Expansion Fund. There had been multiple. It had used to be under a different name, and then it got changed to become called Space Expansion Fund. It had multiple different referendums over a number of years in like early 2000s, mid 2000s that changed, and in some cases added more flexibility on the way it could be used. With the biggest change happening, I believe, in 2010, and that change fairly opened it up to be usable in a lot of different ways. And when looking at our current financial policy around the use of the Space Expansion Fund, it didn't match that. It was more restrictive than it was actually listed in the referendum language. So we really can't, we need those two things to match. And so I submitted a change in our financial policies to represent, so the policies now match what was said in the what was passed by students in the referendum in 2010. So it's really fairly straightforward.
Thank you, Corbett, for that explanation. Are there any questions or comments on the motion from members of council? Does everyone feel comfortable with the motion? Even just if I can get a thumbs up, just so I know everyone is understanding what's happening. Awesome. I love to see it. We love to see it. Okay. Well, thank you, Corbett, for bringing the motion forward. And if there is no discussion from members of council, we'll put the motion to a vote. So be it resolved that council amend Finance Policy 12, Space Expansion Fund, as presented in the attachment. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent on the motion. If you would like to vote against or abstain from the motion, you may use the Zoom raise hand feature to indicate that to me. Seeing no objections to the motion, it's carried unanimously. We'll move to 6.2, which is titled Counselor Appointment to Events and Student Affairs Committee. This was submitted by VP Events and Student Affairs, Jess Dela Cruz, and I'll read the question now. Whereas the Events and Student Affairs Committee has a vacant position, be it resolved that X will be appointed to the Events and Student Affairs Committee for the 2021-2022 year. Is there a mover?
Jess moves.
Jess moves. Is there a seconder?
Acom seconds.
Acom seconds. Thank you. Jess, would you like, you have the floor if you would like to explain the motion.
Yes, so there is an open spot for a non-executive council member to sit on the Events and Student Affairs Committee for the rest of the year. I was wondering if I can put a name forward for right now, if we can move that.
Yes. So Jess, how this will work is just like any other committee, I'll open up the floor to nominations. We'll do a bit of a mini election. You may nominate someone if you think they would be good for the committee. People may nominate themselves. Seeing as there's one seat open, of course, if there is just one name put forward, then that person wins by acclamation. If there are multiple names, we will have to do a vote. So at this time, sorry, let me back up a bit. How this will work is how we've done this before. I'll put 3 calls for nominations out, and after the 3rd call, we'll see whether or not we need to put it to an election. So this is my first call for nominations, and I see 2 people on the speakers list already, Jess being the first.
I would like to nominate Paul for this position as he has already contacted me previous and prior. Also, he has experience within SAC as well with planning events and raising money for donations for external companies. However, other folks, I still trust your judgment. Whoever volunteers to apply, but yeah.
Thank you, Jess. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Paul, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, thank you, Jess, so much for that nomination.
Awesome. Okay, I also see Kashish is on the speakers list.
Hi, I just want to say that I would also like to be a part of the events committee if possible.
Cool. So Kashish, you're nominating yourself?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a second nominee. Paul, were you going to nominate yourself or someone else?
I was going to nominate myself, yeah.
Cool.
Just for me.
Awesome. Sounds good. So I'll put out a second call for nominations. This is my second call. Okay. This is my third call, third and last call. Third call, windows closing. Okay, the window's closed. We have 2 candidates for the one vacant seat on the events committee, Paul and Kashish. At this time, we will move to, well, actually, before we move to a vote on the 2 candidates, I'd actually like to give both Paul and Kashish an opportunity to motivate themselves and speak a little bit about why they'd like to be on the events committee. So you both have up to 60 seconds to explain why you want to be on the events committee. And we'll go in the order of the nominations received. So Paul, if you'd like to speak first, you may.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity to be nominated. For the past 3 years, I've been the vice president of the SAC, and from that position, I've been in charge of running all our events, from pub nights to game day events at our basketball and soccer games and football games, as well as helping all types of other events on campus, such as like the fire pits, having helped people move into residence on the first day of school, and just overall just fundraising. So over 3 years, I think we've managed to fundraise over 20 grand for Make-A-Wish, BC and Yukon, and then also another 10 grand for various charities such as breast cancer and the ALS Foundation. So once again, thank you, and I hope you guys do vote for me.
Thank you, Paul. Kashish, you now have the floor for your 30 seconds. I mean, 60 seconds rather.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I want to be part of the events committee because I feel like I am creative and I am really great at planning. And if given the opportunity, I would like to hold more culturally diverse events. So we're more representative of the SFU committee, SFU community. And I hope you guys will vote for me.
Thank you very much to both of you. And now at this time, we'll open the floor up for general comments for folks to talk about which candidate they think would be best suited for the events committee. So I see Marie is first on the speakers list. Marie, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Gabe. This is really exciting. First of all, I love the democracy and that like folks are actually putting their names forward, and this is great. I haven't personally worked with Kashish, but on that basis, I have advocated for, more athletic student representation in a lot of spaces within the SFSS, as I was part of the SFU team name change. That being said, it would be really great if Paul could also sit on the events committee. That just being said is that I hope that also opens a window for more Black athlete student representation within those event fields, and that we really start talking about marginalized athletes and how the university also affects them, and for them to also have a voice in the SFSS. Many times they feel like, they're separated from the actual student body, and I would love to see them actually have space.
Thank you, Marie. Corbett, you have the floor next.
Hi, so not much any motivation one way or the other, but rather just a question, because every council needs to be at least on one committee. I think Paul is not on any committees currently, and Kashish, are you on at least? I think you're on at least one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so my recommendation is Paul primarily, so we can make sure that councilor, at least every council has at least one committee they're on if they're interested.
Thank you, Corbett, for mentioning that, for that recommendation, something for council to consider as we move into the vote. Anyone else who would like to speak to the candidates who have motivated for events committee? Okay. I'm actually going to wait a couple more seconds in case there are anyone else who would like to speak. Please go ahead, Jess.
I'd just like to say thank you to Paul and Kashish for nominating yourselves and putting yourself forward. It's a very vulnerable thing to do, but excited to work with either of you. We have a really crazy year ahead with a transition back to in person. So regardless, thank you for doing that.
Hear, hear. Ashran.
I'd like to endorse Paul as well because I've attended his events and I realized how great he had hosted those events. So I think he'll do a great job in this committee.
Thanks, Ashran. Getting some pluses in the chat. Nice. Any other discussion? Kirtana.
Yeah, I want to say good luck to both the candidates. I would like to motivate everyone to vote for Kashish because I've never worked with her, but we've had a couple meetings in the council so far, and she's always put forth really good points, and that's given, at least for me, such a great perspective into the way her mind works, and for someone to have such a holistic understanding of the world. I think that type of understanding can be applied to events, and I think she has the scope and the opportunity to just be a great candidate. So good luck to Paul and good luck to Kashish. But I motivate everyone to vote for Kashish.
Thank you, Kirtana. Any other discussion? Okay, it looks like this might be another hard one. Okay, well, in that case, how this is going to work is I'm going to ask everyone in the chat to put the name of the candidate they are going to vote for, that they would like to vote for. I will then take a couple of minutes to tally those names. And then whoever has the majority of votes, the plurality of votes rather, will have won the election. So please take a few moments to do that now. I'll give everyone 45 seconds. Okay, I'm now going to tally the votes. So this will take me about 1 or 2 minutes. In the meantime, if you'd like to get up and stretch for just a minute, you may do that. Okay, so the end results from my calculation, and I'm glad that my calculation is the same as Marie's. It is 27 for Paul and 11 for Kashish. So Paul has won that committee appointment. So thank you both for putting your name forwards. Paul, congratulations. Thank you, Kashish, so much. Again, this is just a reiteration for all counselors to be aware of that even if you aren't a voting member of a committee, you are more than welcome to come to committee meetings and participate in the discussion. That happens all the time. And yeah, just know that that's an option. Okay, cool. So yeah, so at this time, I will move to amend the motion to replace X with Paul. Is there a seconder for the motion?
Just seconds.
Just seconds. Okay. Since we had discussion already on this, we will put the amendment to a vote. All those in favor of amending the motion to strike X with Paul, seeking unanimous consent on this motion. All right, this motion is carried unanimously, and now we'll move back to the main motion, which reads, be it resolved that Paul be appointed to the Events and Student Affairs Committee for the 2021-2022 year. And again, seeing as we had discussion on this motion, we'll put the question to a vote. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent, please raise your hand with the Zoom feature if you would like to dissent or abstain. Okay, that motion is carried unanimously. The next motion is also a committee appointment. And this is titled External and Community Affairs Committee Appointments. This was submitted by the VP Internal and Organizational Development, Corbett Gildersleeve. The motion reads, be it resolved that council appoint X to the External and Community Affairs Committee. Is there a mover for, sorry, I didn't read the whereas clause. Whereas there is one councillor seat available on the External and Community Affairs Committee due to a recent resignation, be it resolved that council appoint X to the External and Community Affairs Committee. Is there a mover for the motion?
Sandra moves.
Sandra moves. Is there a seconder?
Corbett
seconds.
Corbett seconds. Okay. So once again, there is a vacancy on External and Community Affairs, and we need to look towards filling that seat. And so we'll do the same process here for this committee, but I did want to open the floor to either Corbett or Matt as chair of External if they'd like to mention anything real quick. Matt, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I can just kind of talk about, like, I guess a quick intro to like External and Community Affairs. So as a chair, I think one thing that I want to do, hopefully this piques interest for folks who do want to sit on this committee, is that I really want to get folks in a spot who are on this committee. Like, you will be speaking to, you know, members of our community, also forms of like municipal, provincial, and federal like politicians, and we'll be making community relations and also doing outreach as well. So one thing that I'm working on with Ella that I'm actually really excited for is to create resources around, like, you know, public speaking, and also, you know, making sure that if we're representing like the Student Society as well as the External and Community Affairs Committee, that we go in and we have like strong supports and strong dynamics, and working on you know, making sure that folks on the committee feel comfortable going into spaces where we do have to speak, and then also hopefully without if COVID restrictions like are lifted, being able to go to the legislative building in Victoria or other places around community where you'll have the opportunity to do that outreach and get some firsthand experience in that way. So yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, well, at this time, same process. I'll open the floor for nominations, you may nominate someone else or you may nominate yourself. And I will do 3 calls for nominations, starting right now with, this is my first call for nominations. Fizza.
Hello. Yes, so I'd like to nominate myself for the seat on the external committee.
Thank you, Fizza. Fizza has nominated themselves. We have 1 nomination. Nisha.
Hi, I'd like to also nominate myself.
Fantastic. We have a 2nd nomination. Nisha has nominated themselves. This is my 2nd call for nominations. 2nd call for nominations. Okay, seeing none, this is my 3rd call for nominations. 3rd call. The window is closing. It has closed. Okay, we have 2 candidates for the position, the vacant seat on the External and Community Affairs Committee. We will follow the same process. Fizza and Nisha, you have 60 seconds each to motivate and convince council why you're the best candidate for the vacant seat. And so we'll do this in order of the nominations received. And Fizza, you have the floor first.
Thank you so much, Gabe, for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. I believe I would be the best member to be a part of the external committee because since I'm working in the International Student Advocates, I'm trying my best to be the voice for international students, understand what best supports them and how to best support them in their following semesters, especially focusing for the fall semester. And since I'm working towards the same, if I'll be a part of the committee, I can be the voice for the same. So hopefully that convinces you enough and do it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nisha, you now have the floor to give your 30-second motivation.
Okay, well, I'm a political science student, so what Matt just mentioned about going to legislature and working with politicians and public speaking, I feel like it's very much within my wheelhouse, and I'm very passionate about community engagement. And I love working, like making presentations and infographics like I do with a group about called Local externally from the university. And within the Women's Center, like I do like to also promote intersectionality and, you know, community, just like bring people together and get them to advocate for themselves and then also try to voice whatever their concerns are.
Thank you very much, both of you, for your motivations. And so now we will follow the process, and the floor is now open for council to motivate or to, sorry, speak to which candidate they think would be the best. Zay, do you have a point of order?
Just before we go into voting, after these endorsements are given out, I just wanted to give a reminder that alternates are not permitted to vote if their counselor is present. I noticed that in our last vote, one of our DSUs voted twice. It's not really a big deal right now, but in the future, it needs to be kept in mind there for when we are tallying votes.
Thank you, Zaid. Okay, the floor is open. Jess, please go ahead.
Could I ask them questions?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't think there's anything restricting it.
Okay. So I was wondering if you were to join this committee, would there be any issues that you'd like to bring forward to any government officials, any student concerns that would help with lobbying or anything like that?
If I may.
Sure, we'll answer in order of the nominations received. So Fizza, you may answer first.
Sorry for cutting you off. So one thing that I do intend on working on, and it's something I have started on just yesterday, it is to bring UPass to the FIC students, because majority of my friends are still at FIC, and I just asked them that since the fall semester is starting, how do you feel about it? Are you okay with it? And most of them are like, they're not ready to come back to campus only because they have to spend $170 per month just for their TransLink card. So I'm trying to personally work towards creating of a motion and try to pass a referendum where in the student services, UPass will be included for FIC students. That's all from my end.
Thank you very much, Fiza. Nisha, you may answer the question as well.
One thing that also kind of has to do with international students, when we were talking about that motion the other day about the students whose visas were expiring and international students who've been negatively impacted by COVID and have to be the in-person classes that are going to happen next semester. I was hoping to like talk more and learn more about student visas and like extensions and any allowances that international students have had to make, because I know quite a few of my friends are being negatively impacted by this. So it's something that I want to help change, and, you know, motions that I feel like in this group I want to put forward.
Thank you very much. Cool. Any other questions or comments that members of council would like to share? Matt, please.
I just want to say that I feel like both folks are great candidates. One thing, since I'm chairing this committee for myself, that I think, and this is something as well, like there is at-large committee applications that will be open as well, but just to make like a point, I guess, to one important question, because I did all the questions for the committee applications. So one thing that, you know, I'm thinking about as the chair, and also like the work that we'll be doing this year if you are on this committee, something that I think is key for me to be able, and also for other people on the committee to work with folks, is in what ways do you act in solidarity with communities that are not your own? Because we're going to be advocating for a lot of different students, and even for me, like as an Indigenous student, I do really advocate for reconciliation efforts, but for myself, like I need to be open and ensure that I'm listening to community members to understand like our membership's needs, which is like international students, you know, Black students, and also like other POC and issues that come up that directly impact them. So again, I'll reiterate that question: in what ways do you act in solidarity with communities that are not your own in forms of advocacy?
Thank you, Matt, for the question. And Fiza, you may answer the question first.
Thank you so much for posting the question, Matt. When it comes to working in communities that are not the same as mine, I will definitely try to, into my capabilities, the hardest to stand in solidarity and definitely to give them a voice, number one, to show them that they have the support they need. And moving forward, if there were any decisions that I were to make in my power that can make a difference, I will definitely do that to the best of my capabilities that I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiza. Nisha, you may go next.
I understand that it's probably a lot to just like advocate on behalf of a community. And I like understand the importance of that. And I guess like the biggest tool to have is like one, like educating myself on everything that is happening around that community, like current events and, you know, just like their struggles, and then also listening like one-on-one to as many of those community members as I can, because I understand it's like not a monolith, no one community is. But yeah, listening to as many people as possible and like getting all the information that I can, just like trying to absorb it all, and then like asking them for their own recommendations instead of passing my own judgment right away. I think that's how I would best stand in solidarity. And I try to do a little bit of that now.
Thank you both. Thank you both for those answers. Any other comments or questions from members of council? If it is a question, we probably only have time for maybe one more question. Okay, so seeing no more discussion, we will move to voting. So just as before, we have 2 candidates for 1 seat. If please type in the chat your preferred candidate, and I will tally up the votes, and whoever has the plurality of votes by the end will be win the election. So I'll give everyone 45 seconds to do that now. Okay, so my tally is 27 for Fizza and 12 for Nisha. So Fizza has won this election. Congrats, Fizza, and thank you, Nisha, for putting your name forward as well. And just as I said before, this is just a reminder that you may still attend committee meetings and participate just as if you were a member of the committee. The only difference is you just do not have a voting seat, but you can participate just as if you were a committee member otherwise. So at this time, I'm going to move to amend the motion to strike X with Fizza. Would someone like to second?
Matt?
Matt seconds. Thanks, Matt. See, we've already had ample discussion, so I'm going to put the amendment to a vote. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent or abstain, use the Zoom raise hand feature. All right, the amendment is carried unanimously. And now we'll move to the main motion. Be it resolved that council appoint Fizza to the External and Community Affairs Committee. And we will put this to a vote as well. So this is the main motion. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent. All right, this is carried unanimously. And we are doing almost splendiferously for time. So let's come back at 6:11, 10-minute break. So I'm going to reconvene council at 6:11 p.m. We have 2 more motions under new business. The first of which being 6.4 members meeting planning committee. This was submitted by our VP Internal and Organizational Development, Corbett Gildersleeve. And I'll read the question now. Whereas there are two counselor seats vacant on the members meeting planning committee, be it resolved that council appoint X and Y to the members meeting planning committee. Is there a mover?
Corbett moves.
Corbett moves. Thank you, Corbett. Is there a seconder?
Sandra seconds.
Sandra seconds. Corbett, you have the floor to explain the motion.
Yeah, hi everyone. So the members meeting planning committee is a committee that plans the annual general meeting and or any special general meetings that occur throughout the year. The annual meetings have to happen at least once a year by law, and we have to pass specific things at these meetings, so they're very, very important. They tend to happen in mid to late fall. There's a certain time range within our bylaws that gives us some flexibility, but because what's important about this committee is that we meet somewhat early and we get stuff planned out right from the start, because it is quite a bit of work, especially because you need at least 250 people to attend, whether it's virtually or in person, and that takes quite a bit of logistics, planning with staff, with other board members, especially if you have motions at the outside of the standard business, the things that have to get passed, like our audit records and things like that. If you have other motions like we had last year for the bylaw changes, you need to develop a very large campaign to get membership to attend and stay and vote. So it's a fairly important committee, and because it involves with, basically helping with event planning, overall strategy, communications, and campaigning development and such, and then working with council and execs and other people to make sure this all happens and is all running, and then after that, fill in the report for the next year. So there's two seats. It is a bit of a flexible committee in the sense that it doesn't necessarily have to meet. It can meet out of standard times unless we have to meet with specific staff. So if you have like a kind of a 9 to 5 co-op, or you have a lot of morning classes or fairly difficult schedules, this committee is definitely can be flexible to support you. And it'll be quite, like I said, it's a very important committee, but generally once it's done, it's done. It's not like you'll be on it for the whole year generally, unless there's a request to do a special meeting later down the road.
Thank you, Corbett. For context, I just want to say that the last members meeting, which for most of us know the term annual general meeting, it's kind of been rebranded in our bylaws to be known as members meetings. The last members meeting we had was the members meeting in which we passed the bylaws that made council the legal board of directors. So you can see how important having solid planning of members meetings actually is, because you can get some pretty substantial decisions made at a members meeting. I was the chair of the members meeting planning committee last year, and I honestly loved it. It was a lot of fun. So I recommend that folks who are even remotely interested put their name forward. There are 2 vacant seats. And at this time, we will do the same process that we have done 2 times now today. You may nominate yourself or nominate someone else. There are 2 vacant seats. Let us begin. This is my first call for nominations for the 2 vacant seats on the members meeting planning committee. This is my first call. Deanna.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to nominate myself to be on the members meeting planning committee, please.
All right, Deanna has nominated themselves. We have 1 nomination. This is my second call for nominations. Second call. Okay, this is my third call We still have one more seat. Kashish.
I would like to nominate myself.
Perfect. So now we have two nominees, Deanna and Kashish. Sorry, I lost track. Was I on my third or second call? This is bad. Okay, so now this is my third call for nominations. Third call. The window is closing. It's now closed. So we only have two candidates for the two vacant seats. And seeing as there is no contestation, both of the nominees win by acclamation. So congratulations, you two. And at this time, I'll move to amend the motion to strike X and Y with Deanna and Kashish. Is there a seconder for that motion? So I'm moving. Is there a seconder?
Marie.
Marie seconds. Any discussion on the amendment to the main motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll put the amendment to a vote. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent. All right, that motion is carried unanimously. That amendment, rather, is carried unanimously. We're back to the main motion, which now reads, be it resolved that council appoint Deanna and Kashish to the members meeting planning committee. And so I guess this is an action item for all three of the last motions, but all committee members should get added to the mailing lists for the committees and all of the chairs. So that includes Jess, Matt, and Corbett. You all should get in contact with the folks who were appointed at this meeting. Cool. Let's put the main motion to a vote then. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent. Seeing no objections, the motion is carried unanimously. And now we are on 6.5, access for all working group letters. This motion was submitted by VP University and Academic Affairs, Serena Baines, and it doesn't say so on the agenda, but I believe the letters were sent out in the email thread with the agenda for the council meeting today. So I'll read the question now. Whereas on June 2nd, 2021, council struck an access for all working group to draft letters to SFU and the province of British Columbia advocating for the demands outlined in the access for all briefing note. Whereas the working group has completed drafting the letters to SFU and the province of British Columbia, be it resolved that council approves the draft letters and signs onto the letters. Be it further resolved that councillors who vote in favor of the motion sign onto both letters as individuals and on behalf of their departmental student unions, constituency groups, student unions, and student groups. And lastly, be it further resolved that councillors who vote in favor distribute the letters to their respective groups and encourage their members to sign onto the letters. Is there a mover?
Serena.
Serena moves. Is there a seconder?
Jeremy seconds.
Jeremy seconds. Serena, you have the floor to explain the motions.
Thank you. And thank you for Jess for posting the links in the chat for me. So the Access for All working group met last night to finalize both letters. So the first letter is to SFU and the second letter is to the province. I'll just read out the calls to demands for the calls to action, sorry, for each letter, just in case folks haven't had the time to read it, because I know I did send it out a bit last minute. It was sent out this morning. So the one for SFU advocates for facilitate alternative methods of course delivery, which is basically hybrid, but the facility association didn't want us to use that word, so we used a different wording with the same definition. standardize resources, accommodations, and academic concessions, release a clear and specific COVID-19 SFU reopening plan. And the last one for SFU is increase health and counseling resources. For the one to the province, the calls to action include representation for current students, staff, and faculty from SFU on the steering committee and the panel of experts that make the return to campus and go forward guidelines. Currently, there's only one representative on the steering committee who's not a current member of the SFU community, but was in the past, and there isn't any representation from SFU on the panel of experts. Representation from marginalized groups, mandatory practices, so basically committing to providing resources for SFU to mandate the practices that they're recommending, like what could be an example, like they recommended accommodations and they recommended Indigenous students to have the opportunity to still speak with elders and gain knowledge through those forms as well, but they haven't made those things mandatory for the schools, so that's something that we're advocating for as well. And the last one is integrating feedback from students. So these two letters are drafted. If you have any feedback on either of them, I'd love to hear it and we can integrate them into the letters. Otherwise, it would be great if you could vote in favor and sign on to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Serena, for that explanation. And I just want to give a huge shout out to you as the lead of the working group, but as well for the members of the working group who worked to put together both these letters. They're super, super solid, and I think encompass the very valid concerns that students have about the fall return to campus, and particularly the impact it's going to have on marginalized communities if they don't do better. At this time, the floor is now open for comments or questions on the two letters. Deanna, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just wanted to start by saying that the ISSA is so happy that you guys have put in the effort to bring this to SFU and to the province. It's something that we're all on the exec team at least really passionate about. I just wanted to give a little bit of feedback on the letter. You can take it or leave it. But I feel like the calls to action could be a little bit stronger and more like demanding in a sense. Just from other advocacy work I've done, I've noticed that the province in particular doesn't really like to take action unless it's like clearly laid out for them, and even then they don't always do it. So for example, in like the third call to action, you could list out like specific practices, like we want a capacity limit at universities at this percentage so students feel safe, or mandatory masks or things like that. If you wanted to put in that extra bit, I can totally put in some time to help you with that. But overall, we think it's really great and we're so happy to see it, and we hope everybody votes in favor. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Deanna. Serena, you have a direct response to that?
Yeah, thank you so much, Deanna, for that comment. If you'd like to send your feedback to me and I can try to integrate it into the letter. We definitely did go back and forth because as the working group knows, like the first versions of the letter were kind of harsh, and then we kind of toned back a little bit and then we added to it. So we can definitely include your recommendations. You can send them to me over email or Discord, Facebook, whatever works best for you, and I can send you the updated copy.
Thank you, Serena. Any other discussion on the motion? Jess, you have the floor.
I wanted to say thank you to Serena and the folks in the working group for your time and labor and the amount of research that you've put into this. Serena, I just want to highlight the impacts again and the group that you included in the letter to the province, which is disabled and our neurodivergent people, international and migrant community members, mature community members, BIPOC community members, women, people with health conditions that may not identify as disabled, LGBTQIA2 Spirit Plus community members, FAT community members, faculty and staff members, and post-secondary community at large. I think that these are areas that need a lot of consultation and inclusion within the policies that we make, especially when we return to campus. So again, thank you for keeping those communities in mind and for the work that you put into this.
Thank you, Jess. Any more discussion Kashish, you have the floor.
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to say that it would be really great if you guys could share this with their GSUs. I understand that a lot of us are very excited to go back to campus, but then there's also a lot of us who might feel anxious about what to expect when we get to campus. And I think the calls to actions and the standardization of the resources offered to students in the fall, if we can get that through to SFU, it would be really great, and it would just help us learn better and from whatever we have learned from this past year. So if you guys could approve this and share this, it would be really great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mohammed, you're next on the list. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to make either a question or a statement. I don't know which it's going to be, but I'll find out with the answer that I'm about to receive. So I wanted to basically double check that these letters aren't the only actions that we're going to take, that we are going to, for example, start looking at how we can allocate our funds that we saved up for COVID crisis situations, and how we can allocate them best for our international students and our neurodivergent students, et cetera, because as great as the letters are, I don't feel like they complete the full list of tasks that we can do as the SFSS. I just want to confirm that with Serena, and with that answer, I guess, like, tell the entirety of council so they'd be more well aware of that.
Yeah, I think oh, sorry, Serena, I see you in the chat. Go ahead.
No, it's no worries. Gabe, you're probably going to say something similar, but I'm pretty sure that the SFSS set aside some money for future COVID emergency funding for students who are in need. I've been thinking a lot about like the accessibility fund and potential ways we could use that for students with accessibility needs as well. But yeah, if anyone has any more information on that, that'd be great. But this definitely is, in the end, is a lot of work to do.
Yeah, thank you, Serena. And Mohammed, to answer your question directly as well, my understanding at least is that these lists are definitely not exhaustive, and that there is absolutely always more that we can do in terms of our demands for SFU as an institution or the province, as well as what we can do internally as an organization. Yeah. Is there any more discussion or questions? Serena, please go ahead.
Sorry, just as a last comment, I just wanted to give people some more context about like what we're going to do next. I'll create a Google form so people can put their name, their student group that they represent, and any other information you'd like included, and then we'll include those as signatures. I'll gather like the contact information for the folks that we want to send it to for SFU, and then using the names that are in the Go Forward guidelines as people that we can send it to for the province. Other than that, I think we'll also send it to the different student groups as well, just for like a final go ahead. And then also send it to COM so that they can publish it on our social medias. And then if anyone has any recommendations for further next steps after that, do let me know. I think we're thinking about a lot of things, but we're still deciding on like exactly what we want to do.
Thank you very much, Serena. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to these letters going out, and hopefully we do actually receive responses and action is taken on the demands that the letters very clearly lay out. And so hopefully I'll be voting in favor of this motion. I hope everyone else votes in favor too and can share it with their DSU, the membership of all of your member locals, and get some publicity on this. Okay, let's put the question to a vote, seeing that the speakers list looks to be exhausted. So I'll read the question one more time. Be it resolved that council approves of the draft letters and sign on to the letters. Be it further resolved that councilors who voted in favor of the motion sign onto both letters as individual councilors and on behalf of their departmental student unions, constituency groups, student unions, and student groups. Be it further, lastly, be it further resolved that councilors who vote in favor distribute the letters to their respective groups and encourage their members to sign onto the letters. All those in favor, based on the discussion, I'll be seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent or abstain, please use the Zoom raise hand feature to indicate such. Seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. And if I'm not mistaken, that is our last motion under new business. So we'll move into our discussion items now. We have 2 discussion items, the first of which is 7.1, Fall 2021 Return to Campus. It's great that we'll have, since we're already on the topic, this was submitted by Warren. So Warren, if you would like to introduce the discussion, you have the floor.
Oh, hi everyone. I was just wondering if there's anything that the council would like to pass down towards the DSUs, because I feel like we do talk a lot about emotions and creating groups and making statements. And I was wondering if there was information that people in the council hold that they would like to distribute down towards the DSUs. Concerning, like, more specifically the return on campus, but I kind of also work on the all access for all, so I kind of learned about this, but I was gonna use, it might not be the best way to do it, but I was gonna use this to ask if there is any information that SFSS Council would like to descend down towards DSUs.
Marie, you may have the floor first.
Yeah, of course. I guess we kind of just touched on this in our executive reports earlier today, but there is a sub-working group that is kind of, looking at how the sub is going to open when we are returning to campus and things that we are looking into, whether that's like how events are going to work, how students are going to be in the sub and that sort of thing. I do want to say that it's going to be going through a consultation process on 2 different levels. So the first level is it's going to be vetted out to, more so marginalized groups like SOCA, FNSA, DNA, that sort of thing. And we're going to be taking in all recommendations, and then this will also go through council as well. Just a good way for us to figure out the needs of folks in terms of the sub building, but also things that we need to be aware that students are going through, and just doing that consultation. That's kind of like what I'm looking at. There's also JOG. We've been having conversations at JOG in terms of, the university's plans on reopening. A lot of the working groups have, JOG Joint Operations Group. A lot of the SFU's working groups have recently just started last month. So we're going to be getting an update on it this week, I believe. So I'm looking forward to what they said. Last time we actually kind of talked, we were really frustrated and disappointed with the lack of preparation with the working groups and how they were really barely centralized around students. Additionally, they weren't centered around marginalized students. It was almost as if it was a last thought. And we were really kind of frustrated with that approach. We told them that they really need to center their working groups around specifically Black, Indigenous, and disabled students, especially international students as well. So hopefully we get a better update this week, but we could relay that message also for next week.
Thank you, Marie. Serena, you're next.
Yeah, I just wanted to use this opportunity to maybe share some things I've learned about reopening that maybe people haven't heard. I was under the assumption that, or I was told rather, that the Center for Accessible Learning would be handling all accommodations, but then Marie and I had a meeting with the director of the Center for Accessible Learning and the director of Health and Counseling on Monday, and we were told that that's not the case, which is kind of concerning, because if that is the case, then they would have to rely on academic concessions, which can vary from professor to professor, and there's not a lot of information about like whether these things will be mandated or standardized, which is why that's something that we included in the letter. I have been talking to our student advocate, Trish, about this a bit. I met with her a couple of weeks ago. And we're thinking about like having like a centralized space where if students do encounter any of the barriers that we're expecting in the fall, that folks have like one person directly to contact, and that hopefully there's like a network of people who can rally around behind that student and then advocate for their needs. And usually when someone gets an email that's like CC'd Gabe's email address, like president@sfss.ca, it sucks, but they're usually more like, what's the word? Not reliant. They're usually more
Prioritize
responsive.
it more.
Yeah, exactly. And it sucks. But like I feel like having a process for that would be like great for students in case they do encounter barriers. So that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently.
Marie, you have a direct response?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to add to that a little bit too. I think something that me and Serena noticed that was a really big worry to both of us is that, apparently anything that is a so-called adjustment or an exception for disabled folks from Cal or that sort of thing, we were kind of worried about like folks and how they would have to report also to professors, and we didn't want students to be like going through a lot of labor just to convince people that they're going through a hard time, especially since like getting appointments and doctor notes are really not accessible right now, since folks can be, have financial barriers or whatever it is. So we kind of asked them about that. We were really concerned to hear that they were relying more so on professors to do that work in terms of like being more lenient or doing a hybrid model, which the last time we did talk to JOG about like a hybrid model or being more lenient, it was posed as an option for professors, so they didn't feel the burden of that. The problem with that is that that is also pushed on students to have more, like to have to go through the labor of actually keeping up with class or going to class, and it's just more barriers ultimately, which is really frustrating. So it was really upsetting to see that we almost were going to go through with the understanding that, oh, this was supposed to happen for professors to take on this labor, but now it's noticed that it's optional. So that's something that we should really address. Me, Serena, and Gabe are probably going to bring that to JOG as well.
Thank you, Marie. Yeah, the whole concept of accommodations is high priority. Even the meeting I was in the other day that I mentioned in my report with a couple of deputy provincial health officers of BC, my question that I posed to them was where, first of all, how are you going to implement hybrid forms of education for the fall? And B, how can we do this in a way that ensures the burden isn't on the student to access these accommodations and prove that they need them in the first place? At least from the province, their answer was, we're restricted by legislation and collective agreements from actually mandating institutions on what to do and how to teach. So, it's really on SFU to figure this out, and that's where our advocacy comes in. Any other discussion on the topic of fall return to campus? Jess, please go ahead.
I could provide updates on the sub opening and give more information and add on to what Marie described earlier. So we did talk about in our executive reports about subgroups. We have more than that. We have services where we would be talking about grant request, check recs, food, food bank, vending, our free legal clinic, UPass parking, ticket sales, workshops, and course, and with out on campus and Women's Center, and working with those constituency groups as well. We have the building itself, access control, door schedules, emergency action plans, COVID-19 building requirements, etc. We have a subgroup for operations and staff. The date for opening is still to be decided. We need to look at hours of operation. We also have the building assistant job description, hiring committees, all that stuff. Consultation is another one that Marie leads, I believe. We have stakeholders in this group that we need to consult with. So FIC students, SFSS membership, SFSS staff, executives, council, QP, CGSF, Embark, SFPERC, SOCA, DNA, FNSA, other clubs and student unions, SFU IT, SFU security, and all that as well. Events and room bookings, which I talked about earlier. Advocacy, which would be celebration of student contributions in relation to the sub. So this is continuing the work of Wei Chin and Jennifer from last board term with a sub activism project. I'm going to go back to events and room bookings because I shouldn't have skipped that. So how would room bookings look? Where would we do them? Who is allowed to use that space? When and how as well? As for communications, COVID signage, internal room notices, hours of operations, how do we communicate to you folks and all of SFSS membership that the sub is opening, how we're going to do that? How do we make sure that we relieve some of your anxiety as well when you return on campus? The last sub working group is the COVID-19 safety, where we would be working on the safety plan, control measures for the building, control measures for the staff, event restrictions, communication, and that is all.
Thank you, Jess. Yeah, if anyone wanted a visual of what Jess just said, I'm sharing it now. Essentially, the sub-working group was struck by the board last year and continues to do its thing, but the sub-working group also has all of these subgroups that just so very eloquently explained. And so here are all of them. Sorry, this isn't completely updated, but events and room bookings split. These slides just aren't updated, but you have services, building, consultation, operations and staff, events and room bookings, they're separate. Advocacy, communications, and COVID-19 safety. And this information, again, will be coming up to council very soon as recommendations from the sub-working group. Okay. Warren, I don't know if anything that's been discussed has answered some of your questions, but if you want to follow up, you are definitely able to do so now.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. Marie?
I think something to kind of like note about Warren's like original question, it was kind of like what DSUs can do. I guess when that plan does come out, definitely take it to your DSU and go through it and make comments, because that's going to be part of like the consultation process, of course, but just like that could be a task in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marie. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you, Warren, for bringing this discussion item forward. We'll now move to 7.2, which is just a general council check-in. So I just wanted to pose the question, how are you as counselors feeling right now in terms of your role, how council meetings have been going, how development sessions have been going, just a general, how are you in the role? I'm very curious to hear how you folks are feeling. It's been now just over a month and a half. How are folks feeling? Oh, Jess, I don't think we need a Jamboard, but I just want to hear verbally from folks, if there is anything. Devin.
Yeah, I was curious of what people thought about the stars in the chat versus using reactions. I know when we have lively discussions, lists can sometimes get lost with all of the people. It's great that we're supporting what each other is saying, but it can get lost. So do they like keeping the stars, or would people be happy to change to reactions that Zoom provides? Any insight on that would be great.
That's a very good question, Devin. I know personally for me, it's hard, and this is why I've asked you, Devin, to help me keep track of the speakers list, because when there are too many pluses in the chat, it's hard to keep track of who's on the speakers list, and I end up missing people. So it's actually easier for me if people use the clap reactions. But yeah, Sarah, you have a direct response?
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say that I think it would be good for us as counselors to make your life easier. And so I'm okay with using reactions if that's better for you. And I think, I mean, if it makes things easier, I think, and if it's okay with everybody, I think it's okay if we use reactions instead of the pluses.
Cool. Thank you, Sarah. Jess is saying something very true in the chat. We're gonna have to get used to eventually how to do council meetings in person, and there won't be any emojis. It will be a good old-fashioned applause, or you slap the table, or you snap your fingers like a poetry reading. No, I've never been in an SFSS meeting before where you slap the table, but well, how do folks feel about the using reactions instead of plus in the chat? Even if you just want to give a thumbs up about the reactions. Okay, that's cool. Thank you, Devin, for bringing that up. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about in a general sense about how council has been for you in the last month and a half? Charlotte.
Hi, yeah. I just wanted to talk about the the communication surrounding work reports. Because I've been finding it a little difficult to maneuver, because usually the links that are sent in the email, when I click on it, some counselor has already filled out that link. And I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but like to my understanding, like you're supposed to copy the template into your own doc and then fill it out yourself. Because when I click on the links in the emails, they're already filled out by some counselor. And then I don't know if like sections have been deleted, or if I'm missing something that I should have filled in this other counselor maybe didn't, or, you know, etc. So I think we should be a little bit more like clear on that. Like even just have like a doc that's like, you can't edit it. You can just copy and paste it to another doc or something like that. Because I found that every time for the work reports is that when I click on the link in the email, they're already filled out. And then also like making the folder where we're supposed to submit our work reports a little more clear, because it took me a while to find where it was in the email chain this month. And I don't know if anyone else has been experiencing this too, but like I figured it out. I feel like it took me quite a bit longer than it should have. So yeah, that's my feedback.
Cool. Corbett, you have a direct response?
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. Yeah, the link issue was my mistake. I forgot to put it in the first place. And so by the time I fixed it, it was pretty late, going in pretty late. But yes, your feedback also on the form is 100%. I did make a template, a shareable template through Google Drive. Like when you make a new Google Doc, you can do it straight from template and just develop from there. But I can also make like a template that's just viewable that everyone copies from. So thank you.
Cool. And A tip that I have found really helpful is that in your G Suite, your Gmail accounts, you can make folders to help you organize your emails. So even I have a folder that says work reports, and every time the VP Finance sends out the work report templates, I just move that email into my work report folder, so then it doesn't get like flooded away in my inbox. So that is a pro tip that I found helps really, really well. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up? Sarah.
Yeah, well, answering the question, it has been really great being a part of council. And I also want to thank the XIX, the VPs, or well, you, for such an amazing job. You're doing really great, and I think everything you have done has helped a lot for us to navigate from, I don't know the word, but kind of sort through all the things and responsibilities that council entails. And so I just really wanted to thank you. I didn't exactly know what to expect when I joined as a counselor, but I'm really happy with my position, and that's kind of unexpected, but I'm really glad. That's how I'm feeling. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I really appreciate that, and that's really awesome to hear. Linda?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I agree with what Sarah just said, so thank you.
Thank you. Again, really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, cool. Does anyone else, is there?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know I muted myself. I wasn't bad.
Oh, sorry. Please continue.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say there's lots of support and lots of resources to find or ask questions, like to anybody in the, no, it's all good. To anybody. I also had a question. So for my position, like with SOCA, like as IRO, like I go back to our like own SOCA meetings, and like sometimes I have to like present stuff about like what we talk about here in council. So I was just wondering, like, are the meeting minutes like sent to everybody? If they are, like, is it at a certain time in the week or something like that? Because sometimes I forget like different things that we talk about, and like maybe I missed something that might be relevant to SOCA.
Yeah, for sure. I can answer that. So usually after a council meeting, it takes at least a couple of days for the draft minutes to be made. And then they get sent to me, and I have to give them the final approval. And then once I kind of give my stamp of approval to say, yeah, everything looks good, the draft minutes get posted on the website. And then council at its next meeting basically approves it as well, saying the minutes look great. And then they officially get uploaded to the website. So essentially, TLDR, you should see the minutes on the website probably the next week after a meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that aligns well, because our meetings are like every other week that we don't have council. So the drafts are posted on the website, and then you change it to the like official one, or do you keep the draft?
Yeah, usually we just take down the draft minutes and put down the official ones once they're all approved everywhere.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. That was all.
No worries. Thank you for the question. Corbett, please go ahead.
I just wanted to ask a question also to council about engaging with some of the more nuanced stuff or mechanical stuff about being in this group. Things like submitting motions or decision items or any number of things. Do you feel comfortable knowing how to do that or knowing what to bring to council?
I see one thumbs up from a counselor. There's medium in the chat. There's a I'm not 100% confident yet. Medium.
Nope.
Shashank, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, thank you. So I actually, with respect to that, I feel like there's a fine line between what we have to bring to our student society and the council, and that's where the interactions between our student society and the SFSS comes into account. So recently, just an example, my student society has been having slight issues when we're talking about the finances and grants and stuff like that, and changes for the grants, and they have technically asked me to address this in the council, but personally, I don't feel like this is something I should actually bring up to the council in the motions. So when it comes to this, is there like somebody specific I can talk to? Like, I'm not sure if I should address you as the finance VP or anyone else.
Corbett, direct response.
I'm sorry, just almost going to sneeze for a second.
Bless you.
Perfect timing, right? Okay, so there's a couple different ways you could do it. Initially, you could contact the VP Finance and or myself as the internal, because it depends if it's a policy issue or it's a finance issue. Like, is it not enough grant amounts, or is what's getting approved is they don't agree with, or they think there should be more. You could also bring it to Member Services Advisory Committee. They'd handle a lot of that initial like process and stuff related to services and such. So like, for instance, last year they worked a lot on changing and improving the clubs processes, terms of reference as they call them, to have like the general processes for clubs for like elections and grants and all that other kind of thing. But they also can review and actually even do some research projects on like our services as well, that are member services based stuff. So it kind of depends on what specifically they're looking for. So you can always reach out to like myself or probably to give you some feedback where to go to next. Thanks.
Cool.
But if you also you can also talk to other counselors in Discord and see if there's other student users having similar concerns or issues around grants or check recs or any number of things, the booking system, any stuff that the SFS does. And if there's enough people having similar issues, then that can be more collectively brought to council as well, right? Because it's not just, it's not so much that every issue has to be like multiple shared to bring it to council, but there's lots of, if it's a shared issue, then that's also very important to go through and then review.
All right, sweet. Thank you so much.
And also, just the worst case, like if you bring it from a discussion article because you weren't sure, in the discussion part, we might direct it specifically to people to take it on as well. So there's no really any real big harm even to bring it up to council. So don't be too intimidated about that or worried about that. But yeah, it also makes things faster if you do know exactly where to go to. But council is also not a bad spot to bring up a discussion item about it.
Yeah. Cool. And you can always message like literally any of the execs too if you have a question. Like I know I'm absolutely down to answer any questions you might have or anyone else. And I know I'll speak on behalf of the exec when I say they probably would be too. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you aren't.
I think Shashank has a direct response.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get a direct response, but hey, whatever. So is it possible in any scenario that if a discussion item is being debated upon, it can be turned into a motion at that point with an amendment?
Yes,
okay,
that's correct. That actually happens quite often where you are having a discussion and at that meeting you want to actually take a stance based on the discussion. So essentially what would happen then is, per Robert's rules, you would have to first pass a motion to amend the agenda to add a motion, and then you would vote on the motion you just amended the agenda to include. If that's not too confusing. Basically, because at the beginning of the meeting, when we do that motion at the beginning of a meeting, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented, we are basically saying, this is the business we have all collectively decided as a council to discuss today, nothing else. Unless council votes by a 2/3 majority to add another discussion item or motion, which is totally allowed under Robert's rules. You just need a 2/3 majority to actually add something that wasn't on the agenda to begin with.
All right, sweet. Thank you so much.
No worries. Is there anything else folks would like to talk about right now? And I do also want to say, you don't need to say this publicly in this meeting if you don't want to. You may message me or email me privately if you would like to bring something forward. We are also working on a council feedback jot form where you can actually submit feedback through a web form if you would prefer to do it that way. So once that is created, that'll get forwarded to council. Zaid, please, you have the floor.
Thanks. Just on the topic of the Discord, I was just looking through our committees here, and I noticed that we don't have access to see anything going on in the exec committee. So just in the spirit of transparency here, I'm wondering why we're not allowed to have access there. No other committees there are hidden, and the council as a body is an oversight body for the executive committee.
Zaid, you should have access to that channel.
It says I don't have permission to view the message history or send anything, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it the same way for other counselors too? Oh, well, that's not good. Okay, well, we'll fix that. I honestly didn't know that was the case.
All right, perfect. Thanks.
Thanks for noting that, Zaid. I don't think we're talking about anything particularly nefarious or secret in there anyway. So yeah, you can absolutely have access to that. Marie, please.
I think this is also a good time to just let counselors know that you should actually be on the Discord. We were having that issue, I believe last week. We noticed that a lot of counselors weren't on the Discord. So please, I think Ryan just sent in the invitation, but please, please, please hop on the Discord this week so we can communicate there. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. We can send that in an email too, just in case you forget to save that in the chat, but please do join the Discord if you haven't already. Devin, please.
Sorry, I think Kiana had listed before me.
Ooh, okay. Kiana, please go ahead.
That was not a list. It was asking for the link.
That says link, not list. I'm sorry, my brain is not on. My question, though, is regarding the also on the Discord, the oversight committee channel is also private. Unsure if that is on purpose or not.
No, it's not on purpose. Okay, well, clearly we have some work to do on the Discord. Maybe Corbett, if you would like to maybe do like an audit of the permissions on the Discord and make sure that everything is open for everyone to view. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you for bringing that up. And if anyone sees anything that is still locked, please let me know, because there shouldn't be any channels that are locked. Okay, cool. Well, I'm seeing no more discussion on the speakers list. So I just want to thank everyone for their feedback and their questions. I think this is good to do check-ins like these every once in a while. And remember that if you do want to bring something up privately or you know, don't necessarily want to bring it up in a public meeting, then you're more than welcome to email or message me or any of the execs to discuss that. So at this time, we're going to move on from discussion items to section 8 of our agenda, which is 30 minutes Q&A. And so is the Peak here by chance? The Peak, are you here? No, okay. Well, in that case, if there are any guests, so non-counselors who are here and would like to ask questions of any members of council, this is now your opportunity to do so if you would like. And if there are none, that's fine as well. Okay, cool. I'll definitely liaise with the Peak and make sure that they have today's meeting recording, as I usually do. And we are getting there, we're almost done, but we have, so next we have notice of motion for a motion that we'll be considering next council meeting called non-executive councilor work reports. And I believe I have the motion here. The motion is, whereas work reports are currently submitted by council members twice a month, semi-monthly, whereas the amount of reports submitted is quite time consuming for the VP Finance and Services to review and track, whereas changing the frequency of non-executive council report submissions from non-executive council member work report submissions from semi-monthly to monthly, that doesn't really quite make sense. Be it resolved that council approve changing the frequency of non-executive council member work report submissions to monthly. Be it further resolved to change Rule 2.9, Rule 2.10, Rule 211, and Rule 4.6 as presented. Oh, that's the end of the motion. So this motion will be considered at the next council meeting where we will be able to have further discussion and debate on the motion. And just as a procedural note, whenever we are talking about policy amendments, we're actually bound by our policy to give 2 weeks notice that we are proposing a policy amendment. And so that's why we do this here at the end of the meeting, just to notify you as members of council and our membership that this is a policy change that we are proposing. All right, in that case, we have some announcements. 9.1, just as a note, our next council meeting will be Wednesday, June 30th, 2021 at the same time as usual, 4:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And our next announcement, 9.2, is that our counselor for criminology has requested, and I have approved a leave of absence for them from August 21st to August 31st. Corbett, did you have a comment?
No, not about those announcements. I wanted to add an announcement. I completely forgot to. So is it out of order because I didn't add it from amended agenda?
If you would like to make an announcement now, please go ahead.
Yeah, my apologies, everyone. We're coordinating another advertising push tomorrow for noon for student at-large committee membership. So we're working with the communications department to get all the social media posts and website stuff all ready to go for noon, and then it'll get posted. I would ask all of you to share that as much as possible on your social media within your student union groups and your student groups that you represent, student unions, SAC, constituency groups, so that we can get a lot of people applying for these roles because there's a lot of seats available. It's really important for our membership to be involved in these committees to work and to help make decisions and such. Also, it'd be really appreciative for these posts if you would also share which committee you are on, if there's more than one as well, and what you're hoping to work on this year with those, because you've all motivated for various committees, you all put your rationale for that. So it'd be good to share that with your students so that it helps personalize. This whole thing is opposed to the governance committee, it's you with a group of students working on these issues. So yeah, and please share with your networks as well. The more we get out of our bubbles out or spread the SFS bubble, the more students will be involved and the more great candidates we'll get to fill these seats. So it's really important. Thank you very much.
Corbett. Thanks, Corbett. Really, really important. We'll send in the Discord and probably by email to the link when we do end up posting them, but please keep your eyes out for the post tomorrow at noon and share it as much as you can in the afternoon. Because, you know, as we remember from our communications dev session last week, the more you share once something has been posted in bulk numbers, the broader reach we get online. So yeah. Okay, at this time, that is all of our announcements. And we'll move into adjournment.
Zaid has a question.
Ooh, it might be out of order to answer a question right now. Can we do it once we get past adjournment, Zaid? Cool. Be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 7:12 p.m. Is there a mover?
Marie.
Marie, is there a seconder?
Matt.
Matt. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting seeking unanimous consent? All right, seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for the good meeting. Zaid, I don't know if this is a question you want the entirety of council to hear, but if you did, you can ask the question now.
Oh, it wasn't something that big. I was just wondering if Jess needed help with planning the council social and like what our plans are with going forward with that.
Yeah, I didn't know what anyone wanted to do. Jeremy, feel free to hop in. Anyone needs to go ahead. I would love to do something fun. At a nighttime, on a weeknight, on a weekday, garlic bread gang, please come join us. Whatever you want to do, I'm open, all ears. We can make a Discord group chat, whatever you want.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. And then do it under the garlic bread working group chat probably, and then that'd be a really good way to plan it.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool.